And we're back at it again with another live one for all you Biconics wrestling nerds out there on the YouTube lands. And welcome to the Raw Squad reviews for Monday Night Raw for Monday, October 23rd, 2023. I am one of your hosts, Mikey. I am happy to be back here to review Monday Night Raw. And joining me this week, back at it again, my compatriot, my hermano, the face that runs this place, question mark? Maybe, who knows? I don't know. I mean, you do have the long hair like AJ Styles, but Luis, my friend,
¿Cómo
you are back.
estamos?
I'm doing I'm doing pretty good. I'm happy to have you back, my friend.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy to be back. I'm excited to talk wrestling with you. It's always nice to catch up on, Tuesdays to be able to go over the show after a good 24 hours to dissect it, to, digest it as well. I liked it. And yeah, let's do it, man.
Alrighty, so let's not waste any time. We got 3 hours to cover, so there was a lot that went down.
hmm
Uh, so initial thoughts. Again, literally next week we have Crown Jewel, which is I forgot is happening next week. Time is a mystery, but it seems that we're also at the same time building towards what could potentially be some feuds that head into Survivor Series, which I'm here for. And we'll talk about it as we go more about, but let's just jump into it. So Monday Night Raw kicks off this week after we get a bit of a recap of what happened in the main event last week with the tag titles going back to the Judgment Day. For the 50th time in my recent history, the Judgment Day kick off Monday Night Raw. I Here's the thing. I like the Judgment Day, but I'm like, do we got to start with them every single night? I'm like, I get it, I do, but I'm just like, that's just me though.
Yeah.
I hate starting with the same group of people every single Monday because then for me personally, it makes me for me it loses its shimmer with my investment in the group,
hmm
and that's the same way I felt when Cody or Sammy or KO started Monday Night Raw the last couple months during the summer too.
Yeah, I understand that. I kind of look at it as the Judgment Day is the 2023 version of the NWO. They are Bullet Club in Japan. They are the reason we watch the show. That's what it seems like to me. And when I watch them, there's one issue that I see with this right now is that they're too cool. Like, I think people are going to start liking this group because they're just really cool. And if, as we're going to talk about later, if they add a fifth member, not named JD McDonough, but from that side of the pond, I think that they're just going to be so cool that people are just going to be, it's going to turn into 90s WCW where they're booing the good guys. As for Judgment Day opening the show, I don't know. I mean, I love the fact that Finn Balor's gotten better on the mic. Damian Priest is just a pro on the mic. So I like the fact that we don't open with the four of them, that at least we open with like two of them to go out there and kind of get everybody's like, everybody excited and stuff. And, I'm excited because it led to a match for Crown Jewel.
It did. So Judgment Day cut this opening promo. Cody Rhodes comes down to interrupt. Damien and uh, Cody exchange some words a little bit, which does set up Cody versus Damien at Crown Jewel. Should be
hmm
very interesting. And then we get to the obligatory we surround the ring, we're about to fight. And then Jake comes down with a chair, knocks Dominic to the ground. I love that somebody posted on Twitter as Cody's getting beat up by Finn and the
Yeah.
rest of Judgment Day in the ring. Jay is just making moves on Rhea Ripley in the background, just staring at her.
Hey, man. Papi Uso's got to get that going. Papi Uso,
Uh,
that's what he said before the show started. Um, I just want to touch on real quick. Damian Priest, if this is them just allowing him to be himself, the dig that he threw at Cody when Cody says like how they cheated and he's like, "Yeah, I also put you through that table, but I realized you forgot to mention that." Like I was just like, "Bro, like that is what I'm talking about." Oh my god, coming out of Bad Bunny hosting SNL and killing it. You're out here just like slaying it for the Latinos, Poppy. Like I loved it. I love it.
Seriously. And this is giving me the promo work that Damian Priest did in NXT. They just allowed him to be him, which
Hmm.
I want more of because, like you said, just him being him is great television, and it's just he's done enough promo work in his history career, both on the independents and what he's currently in WWE. Just let him be him. Like, to me,
Absolutely.
it works. But this segment ends with Jay attempting to help, but not really, and Cody gets chaired ankle through a chair. So that's
Like a concerto against like the steps. I was like, holy shit.
I was
That's
like,
what he gets for
huh.
saying Rhea was the leader of the group. Trying to throw a monkey wrench in there.
I know. I was like, "How dare you, Cody?" But also, we also agree with you. You're not wrong inherently. You're not wrong.
100%. We all agree. Yeah. Yeah.
So after this, we cut backstage where Jay is attempting to help Cody to the trainers. And then we just jump into our tag team match, which is Alpha Academy versus the New Day. It was announced on social media, and we got a bit of a recap that Akira Tozawa is now part of Alpha Academy, which I find hilarious.
Love
Yeah.
it. Love it.
Listen,
I love it.
I
I
love the
was just
memes
like,
already. The
yes, give that
memes.
man more time. Yeah.
I-
He needs
it's
more time.
great.
He is this version of James Ellsworth. He's this version of Santino Marella. Whatever. Like wrestling needs that. He's that comedy element. He's like our truth. It's perfect. Like and they're already kind of a comedy type of group. So I like it. I'm enjoying it, and I love that that they would wrestle the New Day because I'm a big New Day fan as well.
Exactly. And I really enjoyed this match
Hmm.
because, again, this is a matchup we have yet to see, which I was shocked by. I'm like, what do you mean they've never fought in each other? How is that possible? Okay, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
I will say, not necessarily critiquing the match. It's just my question is, what is in store for Alpha Academy? Because Mr. Gable himself was getting a push in that intercontinental scene.
Hmm.
And then the feud with Imperium kind of just, once they had that was like, all right, we're gonna move on. I'm like, I especially for Gable, I hope he gets something because the man's is always putting in the work. And I thought we were going somewhere when he was getting the push, and then Alpha Academy versus Imperium, him versus Gunther in the IC title scene. And now we've kind of just put him back in the tag team division, which I'm okay
Yeah.
with. I feel like both of them, for both him and Otis, I feel like it's long overdue for them to have something.
So I had this conversation earlier today where I feel like Gunther's like the top of the mid card, right? He's the top of the mid card right now. And the mid card needs like not every champion needs to lose their title to get someone over. And I'm worried that Chad Gable just became another victim in Gunther's like legacy that he's building. And he definitely came out the hottest. So I don't know because Mr. Midcard that's over there wrestling Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel. That's how I feel about him. I know it's not popular to say out loud to people, but Mr. Midcard, I actually want him to be the guy that takes the title from Gunther. I think that would be perfect because then we can keep the right people in the world title, and then like LA wins the Intercontinental title, and he just kills it as the IC champ. So I'm hoping that's what happens. But I don't want Gunther near the world title picture either for WrestleMania. I want give me another year. I need another year of you solidifying yourself. But yeah, I feel bad for Chad Gable, but I mean, I love Alpha Academy, and I think people do too. They boost the ratings. Their sales are great. The addition of Maxine Dupree has worked wonders, and now with Akira Tozawa, they're like too cool. Like all they're missing is the worm.
I
Yeah.
love it. I kind of want an endorsement from Scotty Too Hottie with Otis, and I'm like, yes, that would be hilarious. I
That
am
would
here
be
for it. But
cool. Yeah. Oh, actually, they have the worm. What am I talking about?
I was
he
gonna
does.
say, yeah, I
He
was
does the
like, Otis, get the
caterpillar.
worm, get
Yeah,
the
yeah,
caterpillar.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I forgot about that. That's right.
And the only reason I bring this up is because, I don't mind the New Day winning, But
Mhm.
with Alpha Academy losing, I'm hoping that whatever is happening next in the tag team division, Alpha Academy is at the forefront of it because it looks very. I mean, we got three amazing tag teams, which we'll talk about them later in the show. But
Mhm.
when they all came face to face, but possibly depending on what happens with the Imperium next week, we shall see what happens with all that.
Mhm.
We cut to backstage where Becky Lynch, the man herself. Yes.
Two backstage segments in the first hour. I was really annoyed with the amount of backstage segments on Raw today or yesterday. It was so many.
Especially when we get to the third hour, there was a lot.
Yep.
And we'll talk about it. So backstage, Becky Lynch is she gives an interview because she is facing Indy Hartwell later in the night. And then she's also asked about her match against Lyra Valkyria at Halloween Havoc for NXT, which I'm very, very excited. That is the main event. I am super pumped for this. But basically, Becky says what she always does. She's going to handle business. She's going to take care of things, and no one's going to take this championship from her. But she's a fighting champion, so she wants to give anybody and everyone a shot. And that's exactly what she's doing with Indy. So love you,
Yep.
Becky. Then we cut to a video package promo where we have Ivar and this whole entire Viking ceremony that listen, I've always said this. I may or may not like the booking decisions or the creative most of the time for the main roster, but my god, they know how to put a video package together. I was
Yeah.
like that that video package for Ivar was great. It sucks that, his tag team homie is still not cleared yet cuz I love the Viking Raiders.
Yeah, me
But
too.
Ivar and Valhalla killed it in this promo, and it seems that he's might be going on a singles push for a little bit. So I'm cool
I
with
mean,
that.
that would be great because both of these guys showed out against the New Day in their matches. So I think that they're both able to go ahead and do so. I'm excited because the first time I saw them was on Monday Night Raw when I took Arthur, and I remember immediately thinking to myself, their entrance is money. Like this entrance is awesome. Like I don't remember, and I was like, man, and they're just really good in ring performers. They're really good, and I've always been a fan of Sarah Logan. So I thought that she works really well. I like that she does this because apparently this is something that they actually practice outside of professional wrestling. They believe in this like type of religion, or however whatever you call something like this. I don't want to misquote it or misspeak about it, but yeah, I really enjoy the whole Viking Raider shtick. I really want them to get like the tag titles somehow. Like there's so many good tag teams. It's like Triple H is saving everything right now.
I mean, with Triple H in charge of creative, I'm interested to see what happens for the next couple months.
Hmm.
So this is another issue I have with Monday Night Raw. The amount of recaps we get, I'm like, okay, I get that you have to recap certain segments, especially if somebody doesn't watch the shows every week. But for those of us that watch this, whether we're reviewing it or not, like literally, this happened less than a week ago. Why are we
Hmm.
recapping it? Because we got the recap between Seth and Drew's confrontation in the ring, which jumps into this pretty lengthy backstage segment with Seth walking down the hallway and happens to run into one Miss Rhea Ripley, where they have a very lengthy conversation, first about Drew, and then Rhea turning the tables in a sense and wheeling and dealing if Seth needs help, that he could be the Judgment Day, they can hold all the gold. She Rhea points it out perfectly. Seth doesn't necessarily decline, just basically tells Rhea that I got this, and Rhea tells Seth that he didn't say no.
Yeah, I love this because it kind of calls into question whether or not Drew is going to join the group. And I also love this because in my mind I'm fantasy booking like Rhea and Drew versus Seth and Becky. So I'm already thinking like that would be a hell of a thing. Like, don't get me wrong, I think Seth versus Baron Corbin was great, but Lacey Evans is not great. So it's just like I think Rhea is amazing. She might be, I mean, she's PWI too, like right now she's number one. So the way I looked at it, I thought this was a really good way to confuse the audience and like as Eric Bischoff used to say about Nitro all the time, it leaves everybody with questions. We have no idea what's happening.
100% agree. And Rhea is playing war strategist as best as she can because she's going to anybody and everyone. And I am excited to see when either if all lines up perfectly or the House of Cards falls down on Judgment Day. I whatever way it decides to go, I'm here for it. And then we go to another backstage segment. There was a lot of these. I feel like this one didn't need to be here. So Indy and Candice are backstage, and
Mm,
Natalia comes in, where Natalia just wishes Indy luck, and she also lets the audience know that Tegan is not here because she's the word was Natalia said that she got hurt. She didn't say there's an injury, but she got hurt. I'm like, no. I was just like, please don't let it be an actual injury.
mm,
Tegan is cursed when it comes to getting the momentum, and then she gets hurt, and then she is gone.
mhm.
It's always start and stop with Tegan, but from what I could find, no, it doesn't seem Tegan is legit hurt. It's just that she's going to take some time, like a week off, and then she should be back next week. That's what Natalia said, that Tegan would be back next week. I'm like, okay, we dodged a bullet because I got worried
Yeah.
when you started that sentence, Natalia.
Mhm.
And then from here, we jump into our NXT Women's Championship match where the man Becky Lynch defends her title successfully against Indy Hartwell.
I was a fan of this match. I
I
thought she
loved
made
it.
Indy look really good. I don't think I've ever watched an Indy Hartwell match where I didn't enjoy it. I think she's a really good talent. I'm shocked that they don't have her work more. I really feel like because she's a big girl that she should be in that fatal five-way somehow. Like I don't understand why she's not. I think that'd be a great way to push her, but I think they're trying to keep the way together, you know, by having all of them stick together. I
Yeah.
thought Becky looked really good as well. And I love this about Becky. She's making people look good. She's bringing more eyes to younger talent, and obviously she goes from here to her confrontation with Lyra to set up tonight uh in like 2 hours. So,
Listen, I don't. I'm not physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually ready for that match because I know how amazing these two are going to be.
I
Um,
I I 100% believe that Becky's dropping the title.
you think Lyra's going to beat her tonight? Interesting.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be like the Tony Storm effect with Saraya. I think Tony wanted to take the pin at Wembley because it's Saraya. I think Becky wants to put over Lyra. I think that this whole thing was set up for Lyra. That's my opinion.
You know, last week when we did our predictions, me and Will both agreed that we both picked Becky, but we would also be okay with Lyra taking it. And that was the one match that was 50-50 for us because is equal arguments of why Becky can retain, but also why Lyra is ready to be your next NXT Women's Champion.
100%.
I love it. And as soon as this match is over and we cut backstage after Becky has her stare down with Lyra, Candice gets pimp slapped essentially by Zaya Lee and just basically tells her that tell Indy that's my message and to Becky too. Listen, I am probably alone on this island, but I love Zaya Lee. I know
Oh,
Triple H Zaya Lee is a Triple H, talent. Triple
yep.
H loves Zaya Lee, and I'm finally happy to see her get some much needed screen time because again, for me, representation matters. You have
Mhm.
more, Asian and Pacific Islander representation. Xia Li being from China,
Mhm.
and I love her incorporating her martial arts in her wrestling, and her entrance always gets me when she comes in with the baton and the
Yeah.
staff. It's great, and I do like. Xia Li, she works better as a heel for me than as a face, and
Mhm.
you know,
I agree with you. I was lucky enough to watch her live a couple times. Man, she is a special talent, and she has a real gift for her ring awareness. When I watch her work, I think to myself, I was like, "Wow, I can't believe we don't have more wrestlers from China." Because if they're all this good, where's the rest of the people? Like, where's the rest of the workers from that country? Because wow, the way she transitioned, the way she adds the martial arts to it, it's like I don't know how far back you go in wrestling, but it reminds me of Glacier but not as theatric. Like Glacier was a solid worker. He wasn't great, but I think Zaya is great. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm very happy that she's getting more time.
oh, absolutely. And we do get Candice versus Zaya next week on Monday Night Raw, which I'm excited for. Zaya is great. Candice is an awesome worker as well,
Mhm.
and it's gonna be so good. So then from here, we get our first confrontation between the two GMs of the main brand. So Adam Pierce is backstage trying to get enough security for what's about to go down in the next segment.
Yep.
And then Nick Aldis kind of just strolls up and walks into the building. And I love this so much because if the word of backhanded compliments was a physical representation, it
Mhm.
was this segment because
Yeah.
Nick Aldis kind of apologizes, but not really, and
Mhm.
says, he's scouting out everything he wants to learn, and he kind of got the new GM, he got too hyped, and he apologizes, kind of, and Adam Pierce does his best to be cordial, but he's like, "I wanna slap you so hard right now."
I mean, I enjoyed it. I love the how Adam Pierce is talking about like added security and shit. You know, because the women are just gonna like just run shit. Like I love it. I thought the whole segment was played. This was probably my favorite segment of the night because I now I'm looking forward to the SmackDown versus Raw. Like that's what I want to see. So this was my favorite backstage segment for tonight.
Oh, absolutely, and then for me, it gets heightened too because 'cause we'll see them later in the show because Adam Pierce kind of sets his foot down a little bit, especially, we'll get there. After this, we get our in-ring segment where Adam Pierce attempts to have some sort of organization and decorum, but
Hmm.
this is the fatal five-way contract signing for Rhea's title at Crown Jewel. The challengers all come in one by one. They sign the contract, and Adam Pierce tries to end the thing, and then of course Rhea comes down, being the little instigator that she is, and I
Yep.
love it. I will say I am happy to. I like that Nia Jax is back. I just feel that this her talking went on a little too long, only given the fact that she repeated the same things over and over again. I feel like if we cut like maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes off of that, and then just jumped into the fight, that would have been fine. But I get why, because Zoe and Shayna weren't going to take the bait. And then, of
Hmm.
course, you're in Texas, so you got to make the crowd hate you by making
Yeah.
fun of Raquel from being from Texas. And then Raquel just does what she does best. She's like, I'm not talking, and just bam, like hits
Yeah.
Naya, and all hell breaks loose.
I love that. I actually am really enjoying this version of Nia Jax because I love when they bring real life issues into professional wrestling. Like I really enjoyed the Matt Riddle, Seth Rollins stuff. I thought that was great. And I love how Nia is talking about, and she specifically used the word injure. I love how she's talking about injuring the entire women's roster. I was like, yeah, that's why people hate you. So why not use that? You know, it's don't be like the Young Bucks. Don't get like offended and like kick somebody out of the company to ruin your own company. Like, let's actually use this. So I'm enjoying this version of Nia Jax. Uh, I think it was you that said this a couple of weeks ago. I genuinely don't know why Zoe Stark was in here. What did she add to this segment?
I love that you got that correct because I did bring that up. Don't get me wrong, I love Zoe. Her in-ring ability is really fun, and
Yeah.
she is improving in terms of mic work and just finding a character. But in terms of being inserted into the match, she's kind of like the outlier for me in terms of
Mhm.
there's no real rhyme or reason that she would have an issue with Rhea except that they're gonna throw her in there, which
Mhm.
I'm not upset. I think she's gonna do great in this match,
Mhm.
but I feel like from a writing and storytelling perspective, Raquel, Naya, and Shayna all have legit reasons to want to beat up Rhea and destroy her. But Zoe is kind of like lost in the shuffle because we want her to still be on television
Mhm.
since Trish is not there right now.
Yeah, I mean, Zoe's got the best theme music in the game right now. Her that song is awesome. I immediately, after watching that Raw, I immediately went on Spotify on my way home and listened to that song on repeat for the full 30-minute drive. I was like, "Yup, that song's awesome." I'm adding that to my playlist. Uh, yeah, I think she's a great talent. I guess she didn't add anything to it, but for me, this was, whether anybody feels this way or not, I personally felt like this was just a way for Rhea Ripley to look like Heath Ledger's Joker. Like she was just like, I'm gonna come out here and I'm gonna watch the world burn. Like it was very much like, Alfred saying that in The Dark Knight, where he's like, some people, they just want to watch the world burn. And you could just tell she's like, yeah, that's right. They're just gonna crush each other and they're never gonna make it to me. And I think that's great. I love that. I'm looking forward to this. This is a big, I think we talked about this last week. This is a monumental thing for Saudi Arabia to have a fatal five-way with five women at one time in a wrestling ring. This is huge. The impact of this is going to be, it's going to resonate for a long time. I'm very excited for this match.
Oh, for sure. And, technically it's next week, but because we have all five women involved in this, I'm pretty sure this is probably the only women's match we're probably going to get at
Mhm.
Crown Jewel. Um, Again, anytime they have a Saudi Arabia show, it just depends. Like they had a full on pay per view when they did what was it? Was it last year? No, it was 2 years ago when they did the Elimination Chamber there,
Mhm.
and that was interesting.
I mean, we also got to think about like their last Saudi show was awesome.
Yeah, Night of Champions was the last time they were there, which was this past May, and that was a fun pay per view.
Yeah, they have had a really good, they've had a really good run in Saudi, but we also have to remember that not every winner from Saudi means that they win a feud, because they pay for a specific result. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
we saw that with Goldberg beating Bray Wyatt. Like they want what they want. And because of the money, I still stand by that booking was the right decision. But because of the money, I feel like that WWE just gives them what they want, and they just let them know, like when it comes to Roman, though, he's off limits. Like we book Roman, So I
Yeah,
guess
the
we'll
way
see.
yeah, we'll see. The way I see Crown Jewel is, and I stand by this statement. I see Crown Jewel as a PLE level house show in a sense
Hmm.
because you're going to get stellar matches, but the Crown Jewel is the one PLE that doesn't necessarily is canon, if you will, to the overall. Like it happens, it propels certain events, but the results don't really have a true canon impact of what's
Hmm.
going on. Because as soon as Crown Jewel's over, then we have 3 weeks until Survivor Series. So while people will talk about it maybe for a week or two, it doesn't necessarily lead into what we're building towards Survivor
Yeah.
Series. At least in my opinion, it doesn't.
Hmm.
I love this segment. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We then cut to another backstage segment. This time, Ludwig is, hyping up Giovanni and is trying to get Giovanni to understand. It's like, listen, if you screw this up, Gunther is going to beat you and he's going to beat me because you are now my responsibility and your success means my success.
Hmm.
And so, as they're having this conversation, my boy Bronson Reed comes in and interrupts and tries to play, be like, listen, I'm just here. I'm talking to you. And Ludwig's like, go away. We got more important things. But
Mhm.
bye. And Bronson was not happy.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Bronson Reed. I don't know if I've actually said this on the show here, but I'm a big fan of big man wrestling. I love Bam Bam Bigelow. I love the Big Boss Man. I'm a fan of that style of a worker. And I Big Van Vader is one of my favorites too. And Bronson Reed reminds me of Vader specifically. So I love watching him work. I I really wanted him to be like shot up through the moon and be used like better, kind of like the way NWA used the Thugosaurus or whatever his name was, whatever Brodus Clay. I was hoping
Tyrus.
that, yeah, Tyrus, yeah.
If
I was
only his
really hoping.
political if only his political views didn't taint his in-ring ability, because I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
maybe.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, I'm a fan of his. I'm hoping he continues to move in the right direction because I think he could be their version of a Samoa Joe, until they get their head out of their ass and they go sign Jeff Cobb.
That's what I want to talk about real quick. I feel like, oh my goodness. Listen, New Japan, I love you, but Jeff Cobb, I feel like doesn't get talked about enough.
That
And
boy is special.
that's what I said. Listen, I love the United Empire as a faction. Will as the leader is amazing. Aussie Open is one of my favorite tag teams. But everybody else, like you guys, you do realize we have other members there. Like Jeff Cobb is great. And when anytime I always get a kick anytime it's Cobb and Great O'Con teaming up. Like those two are one of my favorites. Just because I'm like, this shouldn't work, but it does.
Yeah,
But more specifically to Jeff Cobb, the man is athletic, he is
yeah,
strong, he is agile, and he does all three very, very well. What are we doing?
yeah, yeah. I agree. Uh yeah. I love the fact that, like, listen, Okada doesn't just lose to anybody.
Mm-mm.
For him to drop to Bronson Reed, I think was like a way of telling the world, like, this guy's it. This guy's it. So, because I think Okada beats Bryan tomorrow to get his win back. So,
Probably. We'll talk about that off camera because
yeah,
I have some I have thoughts. But we weren't done because Bronson's still backstage and Akira Tozawa decides to pick a fight with Bronson. It's like, I want you tonight, and just like hits him. And then Bronson's like, it's your funeral. And then of course Maxine comes in and is like, no, that's not what we talked about. What are you doing?
yeah, I love
It's like,
it.
I'm watching you, and now, oh, you're gonna die.
Mm, I love it. I love it.
Uh, I love it. The other thing that I loved was this next match, though I did wish we got a couple more minutes from it. But Johnny
Mhm.
Gargano versus Giovanni Vinci. Listen, I'm just happy that Johnny's back wrestling on my television screen.
Yeah, I agree. Johnny Wrestling is one of those guys. I had here. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting the way Vinci worked this match. I was like, is he trying to like break his kidneys or something? Is he trying to pop his kidneys? Like such a weird. But I really enjoyed this match. I thought Johnny Gargano's just special, man. He's a special talent. You throw him out there when you want to have a really good match. And what I'm realizing is all three members of the Imperium are stellar in ring performers. Stellar.
Absolutely.
So I think this ultimately boils down to Gunther just breaking away from the group and just kind of firing them both. And I think that's where we're headed. Him just being a one man wrecking crew.
And honestly, I think it would do all three of these men if they kind of split off from each other. Gunther being destined for
Mm.
bigger things down the line. And also, I feel like Imperium, just them two, without being in Gunther's shadow, I said it. I think will give them a chance to do what I know they can do from NXT UK and when they were here in the US NXT. Like they're great as a tag team. It's just I want to see them more. But of course, Ludwig tries to distract for the win, But of course, DIY, you always got to have your eyes open for them because Tommaso comes out, takes care of Ludwig, which does give Johnny the chance to hit one final beat on Giovanni to pick up the victory. Oh man, I can't wait for Gunther to just like slap the crap out of these two later with the chops. It's like, no, what did I tell you?
Hmm. Yeah, I was a really good fan. I'm a fan of that. I'm glad that we're getting to see the Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano back. It's unfortunate that we didn't get DIY versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. That was like the rumored booking. We never got it, but it's okay. This
I
next
know.
segment though, I loved.
Listen, now on my notes, we have this vignette pro video promo backstage, bathe in red light, Shinsuke Nakamura, and this, and I'm going to call back to something you had said, whether it be on TikTok, in a private conversation, on camera with these reviews, but the fact that losing in a feud doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be buried. And now that I think about it, I think that was in one of your recent videos on
Mhm.
social media where losing in a feud doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be buried. Because this, I mean, I've always been a Shinsuke fan, but this made me more invested. I'm like, all right, I'm excited to see what's next for Shinsuke because he said in this little video promo that his feud with Seth did something for him, but Seth wasn't the one to
Mhm.
truly awaken the true Shinsuke Nakamura. And now
Yeah,
he's looking for that person who may or may not be doing that.
I love it. I am such a fan of this version of Shinsuke Nakamura. Triple H, he said this, you know, just be patient. We're only scratching the surface with Shin, and he's a massive fan of Shin himself. So I'm definitely looking forward to what comes next. And I think people should just enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride.
Oh,
Now we're on to the worst
absolutely.
the worst segment of the night.
Okay. So, listen, I have said this on multiple occasions. Logan Paul's ability to pick up the business is great. Like, I don't want to knock him for it. I
Mhm.
still think he's a crappy person, and I don't
Yeah.
like him
Mhm.
outside of the wrestling world, but you know what? That's neither here nor there.
Mhm.
But okay, so SmackDown, Logan and Ray come face to face, and we're getting Ray versus Logan at Crown Jewel for the United States Championship. I'm like,
Yep.
okay, cool. Logan Paul is on Monday Night Raw. Don't necessarily know why, but you know what? He's probably going to further whatever's happening with him and Ray. And it kind of went there, but then once they involved Miss Samantha Irving, then that's when things went left field for me. I'm like, wait, what does Samantha have to do with this? What are we doing? And then Ricochet comes to beat the bricks off of both of them. I'm like, okay, so Logan versus Ricochet, we're running it back. Sure, fine. Why?
Well, I think Ricochet needs to get his win back. I think that's what happens. Maybe we'll get lucky and my dreams will come true and Prince Puma will make an appearance. But
Listen, give me that version immediately.
oh man, I don't think the world would be ready. I feel like people would forget about Rey Mysterio like this. Like listen, Prince Puma was he's that's probably my second favorite mass wrestler ever behind Ultimo Dragon. I just really enjoyed it, but I'm all for this. Let's give Ricochet that shot because he's special. I don't understand. We got Rey Mysterio got this shot once. Eddie Guerrero got this shot once. Like Ricochet's just as good as those guys. I mean, I'm not probably not as good as Eddie. Not very many people are, but he is that talented. Give us whatever right now if he's going to feud with Dom. Like if this turns out to be because if Logan winds up feuding with Rey Mysterio, like if it becomes a lengthy feud and then we get Ricochet versus Dominic Mysterio, yeah, give me that shit. I want that. Like, give me that. The Samantha Irvin thing, I think the whole point, and I want to just be very clear. I think WWE's intention is for the viewer at home and the people live in the audience to just think to themselves when they look at Logan Paul, that guy's a piece of shit. That's what I
Mhm.
think they want us to think. That's why, because why else would you gloat about a man losing his job? Like, yeah, Dylan Dennis is whatever, but like you're gloating about him losing his job. Like, I don't understand how that's kind of like MJF stuff. Like, it's like whatever. Dom saved the
Mm.
segment for me. Dom and Ricochet.
Oh, definitely. And of course, I'm pretty sure that Samantha signed off of doing all this because she's a trooper. I love Samantha.
Mm.
She's great. It's again, it I'm very interested because if we get Ricochet versus Dominic at some point, I'm all for it.
Hmm.
I'm just wondering how this plays into because currently it seems in NXT we're looking at some sort of iteration of Dominic versus Nathan Frazier. Because again, last week on NXT, Nathan Frazier beat the bricks off of Dominic, which was kind of fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest Nathan Frazier fan. I don't really know that much about him, but I'm excited for that match. I think it'll be great. It looks like he's a pretty solid high flyer, so I think it'll be nice to see.
I think that match would be fun, and Dominic versus Ricochet is definitely on my wish list. I'm like, please,
Yeah.
let's do it. Okay, so I've seen a lot of people talk about this next one online and not necessarily being a favorite of it. While in ring wise, it wasn't necessarily my favorite. If this is how we're developing Nikki Cross's character even more, I am okay with it because this is the Nikki I like.
Listen, listen
Sanity
here.
Nikki was great.
I love Nikki Cross. I love Nikki ASH. Whatever you call this woman, whatever character she portrays, I'm a massive fan. Anything she does, I'm hooked. I was so taken back by the level of character development from three of the four ladies here. Chelsea Green being the classic Karen, Piper Nevin slowly going from like, the brute to like all of a sudden her becoming kind of like another version of a Karen. And then Nikki Cross just sitting there with this blank stare. I was like, this is great. I mean, I'm not the biggest Natty fan. I think she's putting in some of her best work. It's fine. I mean, I wasn't that big a fan of her father either, so it's like whatever. I was more of a fan of when Brett and Owen tagged. But yeah, I'm excited. I hope because if we get the version of Nikki Cross that feuded with Asuka in NXT, it's about to go down. Like, and there I don't want it to get lost because I really feel like nobody is talking about this, but as a wrestling community, we need to start talking about what Chelsea Green has done. She has absolutely stolen every scene she's in since the moment she debuted this character. She's that special. I'm so glad she was able to overcome injuries because she kind of had the Tegan Knox effect, right? Like she just kept injuring herself. And I'm just so glad because I I feel like the injuries helped her get to the right company because her last broken hand stopped her from going to AEW. She was originally supposed to be in the Britt Baker spot and she broke her hand, so they signed Britt. And I just don't think we would be getting the best version of Chelsea in AEW because they don't know how to run women like, unless your name's Athena.
I feel like that's Jerry Lynn and Stokely and Maria Kanellis's doing. Not even Tony Khan's. I'm like, I'm gonna be all the way 100 with that. And I'm like, Tony may have bought the company, but Stokely, Jerry Lynn, and Maria Kanellis are running Ring of Honor, in my opinion. And Tony needs to let them do it more often because they are doing great
Maybe
at Ring of
maybe they
Honor.
should run AEW then, and he should just sit back and just be in Gorilla. Maybe that's what needs
I
to happen.
mean, I mean, but yeah, since we're talking about Chelsea Green, I'm kind of happy. I mean, not, I don't, let me preface by saying this. I don't revel in anyone's injuries. Like, injuries are
Mhm.
horrible. But I'm also a firm believer based on my actual personality and what I subscribe to in terms of my belief system. I believe things happen for a reason, and the
Mhm.
path that you get put on, it's not coincidence that they are because Chelsea had a really fun run in Impact when she tag teamed with Deanna and they were
Yes.
champions. That team was amazing.
Her entire run with that company was phenomenal. Her, like,
And I mean,
crazy pride, all of it.
we got some really fun feuds because we had Deanna and Chelsea teaming up and they took on the likes of like Tennille Dashwood and Madison Rain of The Influence. The Inspiration, formerly known as the Iconics, was one of my favorite feuds those two had. The Death Dolls versus Chelsea and Deanna was great. I love Rosemary and when Taya was there, and then Jessica. Like, listen, the women's tag, the Knockouts division in Impact is great, especially now that we have Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich. You guys, like,
Yeah.
anyways, but going from there to WWE, I feel that nobody puts Chelsea Green in the conversation when it comes to like great women's wrestlers now in terms of like character work. So I was like, this girl has taken everything that she's got and she's been able to amp it up. And this, I listen, I love Chelsea. I will love her till the day I die. And I think she's great in ring and her character work is awesome. I love her so
But
much.
we also need to give her credit because there has been so much talk over the past 6 years that AJ Styles skipped NXT, and nobody's talking about that Chelsea Green did the same thing. And she came to the main roster ready to go. Like that's craziness to me. Like, she was that polished, she was that good. You're telling me that she's just that how long has she been out of wrestling? How long was she just like I don't understand. I know people love her husband. I've never been the biggest fan, but he could never do what she's doing. He just never. That's why he's doing all of these like garbage matches with GCW because he can't do what she's doing. Her character development, she's a pro. It's like she's like Kate Winslet in professional wrestling. Like there's nothing wrong she does. She might be my favorite like female on both rosters. She's just so good.
We'd love to see it. Chelsea and Piper, I love them both.
Hmm.
Again, and then Nikki Cross is just in this small match. In the few minutes that we had of this match, the
Mhm.
character development, I'm like, please give me this version of Nikki all the time. And
100%.
we slowly been seeing it because she's been backstage with the other women and she's kind of going off a rocker a little bit. But yes, please give me that insane Nikki Cross
Yeah.
because as you said, Asuka versus that version of Nikki lives rent free in my head.
Yep. 100%. Okay.
I'm interested to see because with everything that's going on, Chelsea and Piper, I'm interested to see how we lead them into because over on SmackDown, we've been getting the promos. I'm just happy to see Alba and Isla Dawn finally back on my television screen after losing those tag team titles in that unification match. And I was worried that they were going to get X'd
Yeah.
under the former regime, which made me worry. But I'm happy to see that they're still there, and it looks like we're getting them soon. And I love that they're playing on the fact that these titles are technically cursed.
Yeah.
I
Love it.
love it.
Love it.
Love it. So again, now we enter the long stretch of the third hour backstage promos. 'Cause Jesus, like I
Mhm.
think there 75% of my notes from here on out is just backstage, backstage,
Yep.
backstage. Monday Night Raw. This is a 3 hour show. We need to pace things a lot better. But we enter hour three with this backstage between Jay and Drew, where Jay is kind of getting ready for his match, and Drew basically says that what happens tonight is on you. I
Mhm.
was just like, oops. I'm like, Jay, Sammy's about to catch these hands.
Good. Go catch those hands. That's right. Goddamn right. He deserves it.
Then we jump into another backstage segment where I was laughing at this one. Adam Pierce is there with the contract. Miz walks into frame. Miz is tired of being disrespected and then immediately gets disrespected by Rhea, who comes in, signs the contract, and then takes the pen, puts it in her shirt, and walks away. But I also love Miz's line. It's like, where's the camera going?
Yes, love that. I loved it. I thought it was great. Um, yeah, I just love how Rhea Ripley runs all of Monday Night Raw. Nobody runs WWE the way Roman does, unless your name's Rhea.
Listen, I need a face off between those two, and then I could probably die happy.
I think they're purposely keeping them away from each other. I think it's being done on purpose.
Ooh, I agree with you.
Mm.
And then, of course, Rio goes to the Dom. I do feel that this segment could have get cut a couple of seconds because it felt like it lingered too long on Dominic and Rio.
Yeah,
But
that was
it was weird, but it was all right. Again, Miz is tired of being disrespected. Immediately gets disrespected,
yeah, yeah, I agreed.
so it's great. Then we get this match between Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre. I don't know, maybe my expectations were a little bit different. I wasn't thinking that it was gonna be 5 minutes, and I didn't think it was I mean, Sammy was going to lose either way, but, I mean, technically, McIntyre wins clean here, but that's because Rhea comes out when her music hits and causes kind of a distraction for Sammy. I'm like, "Sammy, you've been in this business long enough. You need to tune that out, bro." Like, I this is just a pet peeve of mine. If you've been wrestling in this company long enough and you still get distracted by theme music, I get that's a storytelling device. I was like, no, you gotta tune that out. That's how you lose matches.
Yeah. Nah, I mean, I think it worked out really well, and I love the no sell by Drew, how he just walks by Rhea as she's smiling. It's perfect.
Drew's
I
like, I'm
love
over
this
it. I
story.
love it.
Love
I
this
love it.
story being told.
I mean, we'll talk more about Drew down the line. Again, right choice. Sammy getting the bricks beat off him. So
Mm,
we'll see what happens next with Sammy. Drew is still, headed towards Crown Jewel, so we'll see what happens with that. Backstage, this is where Adam Pierce puts on his big boy pants and puts his foot down. So Nick Aldis is talking to Katana and
hmm
Caden, which I'm also yelling at my television screen. Why aren't they wrestling on television? What is happening?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Outside of Chelsea and Piper, they are literally the only real female tag team that you have that tag
Mm,
together, work together, and they're amazing.
yeah.
Anyways, Nick Aldis is talking to them, and Adam Pierce is getting jealous like an ex boyfriend, and he's not too happy about Nick talking to his talent. Nick says that he just wants to get to know all the stars that Raw has, and Adam Pierce is like, I need you to leave immediately. And Nick's like, fine, be that way, and then walks
Yep.
off screen.
Love it. Love it. I love that. You know. I love the fact that like Adam Pierce didn't go as far as ordering security to escort him out, but he's like, get out. Like just get out. I love that.
And again, if that means that these GMs will be cordial but trying to slit each other's throat in the process, I'm here for it because again, that throws shades back to the various eras of WWE wrestling where the general managers one actually means something, and
Yep.
number two, they are going all in, no pun intended, to do what they need to in order to make their brand the best and then
Mhm.
bragging right. Listen, if this brings back sometimes once in a while brand warfare for Survivor Series, or if you want to bring back bragging rights just for like a one night thing only, I am not against bragging rights.
Yeah, I agree. I'm definitely looking forward to what happens here. I love it. Two days of this storyline, and I'm already hooked.
I mean, exactly. And that's the crazy thing. It only took a Friday. It took like what, maybe 2 minutes on SmackDown and then
Mhm.
combined like 3 minutes here to make me invested into this GM warfare.
Yeah.
It's like I'm playing a 2K game and I'm watching my GM mode actually play out in real life. It's great.
hmm And then from there, we go to a classic squash match.
Which I loved Bronson Reed squashing Akira Tozawa. I mean, it
100%. Maxine's
exactly.
facial expressions were hilarious. She has me busting a gut every single time. Just her, like, the way she looks like an utter fear, and it always has me rolling.
She's like, I'm about to witness manslaughter in
Yeah.
front of me. Like here, Tozawa's gonna die.
hmm
But again, this is exactly what it needed to be. I've seen some people a little upset. They're like, "Ugh, comedy wrestling." I'm like, listen here. Comedy wrestling is important just as much as your technical and high flying spots because I need a good chuckle every once in a
Yeah.
while.
It's way too serious if there's no comedy in there. Yeah, it could be worse. It could be that forced shit that Daniel Garcia does. Like that feels really forced. That doesn't feel natural.
Oh, don't even get me started because if you watch the Rampage review, me and Adolfo talked about it and I went off because I feel like it's a waste of Daniel Garcia's time and I feel like it's a waste of Anna Jay's time too. More so, I'm just like Anna Jay has been relegated to an on-screen babysitter and it makes me upset. But Daniel Garcia's gimmick of this whole thing is not great for
That
me.
white boy
And then
has
they're
no rhythm.
they're teasing him going back with Jericho. I'm like, stop, get out of the black hole that is Jericho.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, no, what are we doing? But that's for another day. Then we get backstage where we pretty much just set up that these three tag teams are going to be the ones that are going to be fighting over number one contendership at some point with Alpha Academy, New Day, and DIY. And
Mhm.
then they're all cheering Tozawa on because he got beat down, but then they give him because product placement the Dallas Cowboys like belt,
Yeah,
and then they Xavier Woods with the one liners kills me, man. I was just like, God, Xavier is
yeah.
great. This whole segment was a lot of fun. Honestly, I am okay with any iteration, whether it be one team versus another. If you want to do a triple threat with all these guys, I don't
Mhm.
care. It's
Yeah.
great wrestling all around. Then we get into probably my favorite backstage confrontation, Drew and Seth just having this face off against each
Yeah.
other, basically coming to terms that they're trying to one up each other, and the fact that they both agree that at Crown Jewel they don't need Judgment Day in their corner, and they agree that it's going to be man on man, mano y mano, which I don't think is going to happen. But
No.
that's neither here nor there. Again, Seth is doing his thing. Drew continues to prove that I am happy he's back on my television screen, and the heel turn is going to be beautiful to watch happen at Crown Jewel when it does, I think.
My prediction
Mhm.
is they're both knocked out in the match. Damien cashes in and walks into a Claymore and takes the pin. It's a way to
Ooh.
save Seth Rollins and a way to kick out Damien and add Drew to the group. I think it'll be set up this way where JD or somebody costs Damien the briefcase and Seth drops the title. I don't know why, but this is like I feel it in my bones that this is gonna be the finale. This is how it's gonna happen.
Ooh. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. I'd be excited. I also have a pretty crazy prediction for LA Knight versus Roman.
We're
Yeah.
gonna talk. We'll talk off camera, and then if you join the SmackDown review, then we can go hog wild with it too.
Yeah.
But yeah, this stare down was probably my favorite backstage segment of the night, only because I think this is going to be a really fun match at Crown
Mhm.
Jewel, which then leads us into the main event. Main event: Jay Uso taking on Mr. Senior Money in the Bank, Damian Priest.
Mhm.
This match was also a lot of fun.
Oh my god.
Listen, I love Jay. I love Damian. This was a perfect fit together.
100%. I want more. Like, I need like a 20-minute war with these two because I thought to myself watching this, I was like, yo, these guys have awesome chemistry. This was a lot of fun to watch. I really enjoyed it. I thought it played really well. I love the finish of the match. I love how Jay is continuing to use the spear to troll Roman Reigns. I thought that was great. Um, Anytime Damien picks up a victory, I'm all for it. So I mean, even if it's that Jay taking the pin, whatever, somebody's got to lose. You know.
But I honestly think this is gonna be. I don't think losing doesn't hurt Jay, in my opinion. I think losing for Jay right now, I think it just builds credence to his character
Hmm.
that eventually he's going to get one over on Jimmy at some point,
Hmm.
and then just he's gonna get the proverbial middle finger back at the bloodline at some point, and I'm excited to see that. I want to see. Yeah, I agreed. I want more matches between these two. I want them to go longer because these two, again, I love the mixture of brutality and just amazingness.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Raw goes off the air. Damian and Finn beat down Jay. Cody hobbles to the ring with a chair in hand as he kind of saves Jay. as Raw goes off the air with Cody and Jay staring down at the Judgment Day as the show goes off the air. Again, Cody's just kind of buying time right now until we figure out what happens with Survivor Series, whether what if he's going to have a match there or whatnot. But I am excited for Cody versus Damian at Crown Jewel. Overall, I thought this was a really fun show. My biggest critique is I need Raw to lay off the backstage segments for a little bit because, especially in that third hour, it was like 80% backstage segments and like
Mhm.
20% wrestling. But overall, I thought this was a fun Raw.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought to myself this was a pretty fun Raw. I didn't have a lot of critiques. I think my biggest issue is, as I said to you, my biggest issue was specifically the backstage segments. I don't understand why we have so many. This was a backstage a thon. That's what it felt like. It was all about backstage. It felt like it was like, let's use all of this instead of using all the characters that we have on screen. And I felt like all of those backstage segments really hurt the women tonight. We didn't get a ton of women like segments or moments, and I was like, we've done so well for the past 4 weeks, and then we come into this week, and it's like, it's not great for women's wrestling if the only woman on screen is Rhea Ripley. We need more than that. And just because you're doing, like, I get that Saudi, you're only allowed to really have one woman match because obviously it's a different country and they run things a little bit differently over there. So that's why you're throwing as many of them as you can into one match. But this is the United States where like we can rock with like multiple segments as they've done for the past 4 weeks. So that's what I kind of felt like was missing from tonight. After having weeks of just this, I say this with the so much like a love in my heart with the oversaturation of women on the screen on Mondays. I felt like it was what was missing tonight, and when I thought to myself like, yeah, I like Bronson Reed and I thought that he worked out really well, but to be quite honest, I would have cut out the Gargano match and I would have cut out the Bronson Reed match and given Drew and Sammy some more time and given me like two more women segments. You know. I think that would have made the show better.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And then, with all that being said, if I were to give this out of 5 empanadas, I give this like a solid 3.3 empanadas out of 5.
Yeah.
Again, I think Raw is now, and I mean, you could probably attest to this. I love watching Monday Night Raw now, but I will tell you, prior to like spring through summer was kind of a slog. I was just like, what are we doing?
Mhm. Mhm.
But I feel like since post SummerSlam, and even though SummerSlam is still a disappointment in my books, I feel like Monday
Yeah.
Night Raw and SmackDown have finally started getting their footing. And now that, we're slowly starting to see that since Hunter is now fully in charge of creative, I'm more optimistic going into the rest of the year and the beginning, the next couple months to see what he does. But for this particular Monday Night Raw, 3.3 empanadas. It was a pretty decent show. It's just a lot of backstage segments that
Yeah.
some of them didn't need to be there.
Agreed. Agreed. That's pretty much my only issue with the show itself. I thought everything else played really well. I was very excited for what we saw. I thought the show itself was a pretty solid Monday Night Raw. It gave us and it moved stories along, and now we have Damon versus Cody, which I think is going to be a really good match. And I'm hoping Cody takes the loss. I know he's not going to, but hopefully, even when Cody's outnumbered, it still feels like he wins. So you know, I don't know what to tell you. But I do
We'll
love
talk.
how
Yeah.
Damien kind of called him a failure tonight. I thought it was great.
This is gonna be interesting. The Cody, I can hear the Cody fans coming for us. It's gonna be beautiful. And listen, I
Nah,
love Cody too.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
Cody too, but this this LOL Cody wins storyline. So it's like, listen, can we stop putting him like the story being that he has to overcome injury and adversity? I'm like, stop,
Mhm.
just stop.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Oh my goodness. Well, Luis, this does bring us to the end of the Raw Squad review. Once again, I am happy that you are now one of our co-hosts for this thing. It just makes it so much more fun.
Mhm.
And I'm excited to see what next week brings.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited too. So, yeah.
I loved it. Well, if you have stayed tuned in long enough, thank you so much for tuning into another Raw Squad review. If you like this review, you can check out other Monday Night Raw reviews as well as the other reviews we have going on here at the Biconics YouTube channel because we pretty much cover everything from the weeklies to the pay per views and PLEs, which is great. You can follow us all over the social medias at BC WrestlePod, where you get notifications when these long form videos go live. As well, you can see clips of us just talking massive amounts of trash to each other and about
Mhm.
certain things. Listen, those clips are very beautiful to watch. It's a lot of fun. And
Yeah,
if you want to hear more unhinged opinions, check us out at the Biconics Wrestling podcast, where all podcasts can be found because more wrestling content is never a bad thing. So make sure that you follow us in this journey. I would like to
absolutely.
take the moment to shout out to the 75 subscribers who had decided to stick around to watch the amazing content that we put out because hi. Um
Yeah,
watching a watching nine dudes talk about wrestling is something that I never fathomed would be entertaining, but thank you to the 75 of you who are tuning in to watch all this. This is great.
yeah, absolutely. That's, got to give love to the subscribers.
Seriously, and without them, none of this is possible. So truly, I say to you all, thank you so much. And until
Mhm.
the next review, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and stay biconic, you beautiful bastards. But until the next review, we'll catch you later. Ta-ta for now.